Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of That's What She Said with me, Christiana Malacara. I am so happy to have you here alongside with my guests. But first, I feel like I have to cover a couple bases here. We are easily a dozen episodes into That's What She Said, and I think it's the time that I just take a pause and say thank you. Thank you for spending an hour or so of time with me and our guests that we've had in the past and in the future, because what that shows me is that there's an audience of people in the Great Lakes Bay region and beyond who are just willing to invest in yourselves, invest in your community, but grow. And you're going to hear me say it again, start that ripple effect in our community. Just you being here means so much to myself, to my producer, Jonathan Dent, to everyone here at WSGW, but also to each other. Those shares on Facebook, those likes on Facebook, the tuning in on Sunday at 1:30, 100.5 or 790 AM, and then now again here on Spotify. So all of those things, they add up. And like I said, a dozen or so episodes in, it means a lot to me. And thank you. The other thing I wanted to touch on was this past week, I have had to rethink the definition of empathy. So whatever empathy may mean to you, I had to kind of say, what does that mean to me? And what does that mean to other people? And the week, always start out my week by planning it. And Thursdays, I always plan the conversation with a phenomenal woman from the Great Lakes Bay region. And she came up when I was thinking of the word empathy. What is this person's definition? Because this person who we have here today with us, she gives it her all for everyone else. So experiencing that volume of empathy is a big deal. And so I brought her on the show today, and we're going to speak with Jamie Forbes. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I love that you're here.
Thank you so much for your kind words. That's really meaningful.
I meant it. I meant it when, like I said, I had to think about empathy this week. My kids went back to school, as did many, and I was grateful, that there's teachers on the other end, there's principals, there's administrators, all the way down to, someone who's cooking and cleaning in these classrooms and cafeterias and saying, they're giving their all for something else. And it was kind of like, well, so does Jamie. She gives her all for her community. And you know what? Trying is the best thing to say, because there's always room for improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're trying to give our all, can you tell our listeners here, what is it that you do?
Yeah.
And a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my current professional job is I'm director of external affairs at STARS, which is the public transit provider here in Saginaw. And it is a great privilege to be able to do a job that really speaks to my values, my personal values, and also that it gives me space to be able to invest in the community in lots of other ways. So I'm a part of the Gray Mural Project. We install raise money for and install public art in Saginaw. I'm on the homeless consortium board, so I get to work with all the directors of our shelters. I'm on the the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation board, so we give low interest loans to small business owners. And those are all things I really care about. And it is lovely to be able to have a day job that allows me to invest in those ways, knowing that it always pays off.
It always pays off. I don't know. I know my listeners can't see this, but I just saw the stacks of hats on top of you fill up. Like, whoa. Like these are all large items.
Oh, they're so fun though. What a privilege that I get to do all this fun stuff. I mean, I feel like we take for granted sometimes that people have space for this, right? I get to, it's a Thursday. It's during the day, and I get to come and talk to you today. And I feel like there are so many people who are so focused on just their day-to-day needs being met that they don't get to go out and do the fun stuff that I get to do. And so I feel like it's only fair that when you are one of the lucky ones that you take advantage of those opportunities. You know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah, I like that when you're one of the lucky ones. Okay. And at Stars, can we kind of go back to that?
Yeah.
What is it that you do at Stars specifically?
Yeah, so actually how I got into it was that I was a community organizer for the Ezekiel Project, which was the best and hardest job of my whole life.
What's the Ezekiel Project?
So the Ezekiel Project is a community organizing collective. They organize churches and organizations and neighborhoods around shared values. So a lot of the groups that are involved are religious, but people kind of come to their values through lots of different ways, right? Through their upbringing or through their faith or through their communities. And so together we would work on issues that we all shared that belief that it was important. So things like environmental justice, economic justice. So like earned paid sick time and land use. There's a lot of, politics and equity around the use of land in our communities. The ability for everyone to be able to support themselves with a fair paying job, the ability for everyone to access education that takes into account their individual needs and gives them an opportunity to succeed. Basically, all these sort of values things that we would work on together. And one of the areas that we worked on was transportation. At the time, Stars had a lot of challenges and had made some cuts that were really hurting the people in our congregations and in our organizations. And we'd been working on transportation for about the full 4 years that I was there. And so we had organized a couple of events where we brought in different stakeholders to talk about what the needs of the individual, what do folks need to do in terms of transportation to education, to jobs, to healthcare, and had really good conversations and had been a good convener about all the different stakeholders that were part of that. And sort of complaining from the outside, right?
Yeah.
Trying to push Stars to make moves to improve things. And just about that time, the federal government does every 3 years, they do a big evaluation of all public transit agencies to make sure that they're using resources responsibly. And they came in and Stars had a lot of issues, as many as they'd ever had.
When was this? What year was this?
This would have been probably 17, 18.
Okay.
And
2017, 2018, and Stars
were bad.
And for those of our listeners who don't really know, and we're kind of tossing around Stars already so quickly, Stars is a bus system, and it's used here in Saginaw County. And how, can you describe a little bit about Stars?
Yeah, so we have bus routes that go that sort of all start from the city, but go out into Saginaw Township, Kochville Township, Bridgeport, Buena Vista. And then we have a lift service, which is a curb-to-curb ride. Say a senior or disabled person can't walk to the bus stop. We need to make sure that we accommodate them. And so we'll come to their house and pick them up, take them where they need to go. And then we also have something called Rides to Wellness, which honestly can be for any reason, not just wellness. But that transports people across the whole county. Yeah. One of our limitations is that we're only funded by a city millage, and so we focus all of our services on city folks, hoping to be able to make some expansion in the next few years. But so basically it was like things were in a really tough situation. And I had made lots of relationships adjacent to the transportation issue, including the director of the Flint MTA, which is the public transit that's in Flint. They are renowned around the country for having really innovative programs. And they sort of came in when the FTA, when the feds said, we are not going to give you any more money unless you get this figured out. They came in and sort of took Stars under their wing, and they hired the Ezekiel Project, me, to do outreach for them, to listen to the community and bring that back to the agency and then distribute information.
So you were in a good position on both ends there to not only advocate, and you said kind of complain a little bit, like, hey, this needs to, get moving along here. Yeah. But you also were seeing a void and being a connector. And that is something that I view you as, is a connector. Yeah.
That's honestly my favorite. We have so many people in this town that do cool things, that care about stuff. Like, it is a great joy of mine to be like, wait, you like that thing? Have you talked to this person yet? Can I loop you in? Seriously, my favorite thing ever. I like the idea of platonic matchmaking, right? Like, have you met them? Because you need to. It's like my favorite thing, because we truly have so many people in this community that will generously step up and help people that are passionate about their stuff, and they're focused about making change happen. Once again, I get to go out and meet people all the time. It's only right to make sure that that those that don't have the time to be as out there as I am, that they can still, get some of the benefit of that, of like, you got to meet this person and check that box, right?
So when you stepped into the role at Stars, did it feel like a natural fit, or was there some maneuvering you had to do with yourself to be able to make that position successful for you?
Yeah, I mean, I do all kinds of stuff at Stars. I do all of the legislative relationships with elected officials, which I love politics, especially local politics. So it makes me so happy to do that. And we have wonderful people that represent us. And I do graphic design, social media, all the community relationships, which once again are just my favorite. I do the sort of the communications end of things. So there were some areas that I needed to grow my skill set. I think also that I went from not having a lot of balance in my life, because when I care about a thing, I kind of go the whole way. And so I was like pretty burned out, and switching to Stars really allowed me some space to be able to recenter myself on having more balance, which I think is so often the case, that when you really care about something and think that it matters, know that it matters, and believe that it is impactful, you kind of go the whole way.
You go all in.
Yeah, which is a blessing too, to have a thing that you think matters and makes a difference in the community. But you also like have to sleep properly and feed yourself and like talk to your mom,
Yes. Yeah.
So
exactly.
So I really so I was able to really have so much more balance in that. And I think that's, so many folks struggle with that, finding that sweet spot where you're growing and you're challenged, but you're not just run dry. The whole idea of you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And I think that a lot of people struggle with that.
So when you shifted into your current role, you said you were off balance, and this evened everything out for you.
It helped. Yeah.
Do you still see yourself kind of? She's laughing.
Sometimes I don't know where my personal life ends and my professional life begins, and vice versa. But that's also because I just really love what I do. Like, would I be a part of all these involvements in the community? Would I do that if I weren't getting paid, if I didn't have a title that brought me there? Yeah, I would, if I had the privilege to be able to do so. But fortunately, it also is my professional life. But I just feel really lucky that I get to do stuff that truly speaks to what I think we as humans should do in the community to help our neighbors.
Here's a pretty organic question. How would you define lucky?
I mean, we are all, there's a question at the end of one of my favorite podcasts. They interview entrepreneurs, and they say, do you think that you got where you are because you were lucky or because you worked hard? And I find that to be such an interesting question, because these are like really successful, really fancy people. And I think that, you can say that when you got an opportunity that you were able to capitalize on it, but to ever think that like any of us deserve all that we get, that we earn it, I think is so off base. So much of what I have been able to accomplish in my life is due to factors that have nothing to do with my ability to stay steadfast and work hard on things. It's about where I was born, to what parents, to what community, to what school, right? To what socioeconomic level, to the color of my skin and my gender. All those things are not things that I could have changed. And so I think I'll take a little that I have tried, and that things have worked out for me, because because I tried, but I also think that so much of the things that lined up to make me even have that are beyond my control.
What I'm picturing is in the center, we have Jamie Forbes in this bubble, and then all these little bubbles coming off of her that essentially formed who you are today, who you were yesterday, and who you can be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of those early on little bubbles that made you who you are today?
Yeah. So I grew up in Reese, which is a little tiny place, right towards the thumb. Great place to grow up. I had the privilege to be able to go away to school. I went to Central Michigan University, and then I went to a school in Nashville called Belmont that no one ever knows about.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. So my major was music business.
Okay, let's pause there.
Yeah, weird, right?
Okay, so Jamie,
I know.
Jamie studied music business?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what happens when you're 17 years old and your parents tell you can do anything you want, right? And that you should follow your bliss.
I can exactly relate to this identically. I went to fine art school.
Okay, so you understand.
Yeah, because my mom and dad were like, "You can do anything you want.
Oh, you love
You're
art?
powerful.
Go do art.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, right?
Yeah, I went to school for painting.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school for like going to festivals and passing out free swag. Like that's I mean, it was really cool.
You can
And
get a degree in that?
yeah, apparently you can. I mean, I'm sure you had a great time, right?
Oh yeah, did you?
Yeah, I had a great time. Now, I mean, I just have a degree, right? So it doesn't really matter what it's in, but like
Essentially,
impractical.
it's fun though. I'm
Yeah.
glad you had that experience.
I'm glad that I didn't have $100,000 of student loan debt when I was done.
True.
But that's also a privilege that I have.
That's fair.
That my parents helped me out with a lot of that. So,
Okay.
but
All
yeah,
right. So
I
let's
had
reel it
this
back in. Okay.
weird degree. And then the economy sucked and I was like, what do I do? I'm graduating. And I came home to like get my bearings and like leave, because when you're from a small town, you're like, it is failure to still live here, right? I wanted so badly to
Why do you
leave
think that's a stigma?
because people are judgy and hateful of, I don't know, because we're just judgmental of each other. Like, for me, the success was to leave, and that staying would have been, which is funny because then when I tried to leave and things didn't work, I had to learn to love this place, and now I love it so much I can't imagine ever leaving. I got involved in local political campaigns because I had a job that I didn't have a lot of meaning from. I was a temp employee for Dow in IT, which is like not anything that is all that.
This was years ago.
Yeah,
You're
this
saying-
was in my 20s. And I needed a thing to like my life a little bit better. I got involved in local politics here in Saginaw, still living in Reese, and met the most wonderful group of people that have been working in politics for decades. And they allowed me space to try things and to grow. I was so shy. I was so insecure. And they gave me little crumbs to like start learning. And then I eventually was, the president of our little political club. And then I ran for county commissioner, which I had no business doing, but it was still a great experience. So these political folks really, really, really fueled me and gave me shots. And I am still so indebted to their kindness. And I grew so much during that time, and it helped me grow to love this place. Like I feel so much defensiveness over Saginaw, Flint, Detroit. We have been through tough stuff as a community, and we've persevered through all of that, and it's made us a better place. And so I found myself, from going door to door, talking to my neighbors, to really loving some of the elected officials that I got to work for, to all these people that I grew to know. I felt really defensive about how people talked about this place, and it has really fueled my investment in the community now.
So when we're talking about, here's Jamie in the middle and all these little bubbles of what formed Jamie, we're talking about community members,
Yes.
existing leadership, your location of where you lived, this wild degree you got in Tennessee. So all of these things. But did you ever see a common thread between those of that helped you get to where you're at? Was there like one thing that you're like in all of these adventures that kind of was steadfast that whole time?
I think that personal connections and being honest about who you are and showing your motivations clearly. I think that that a lot of people gave me shots not because I was the best at it, but because I was sincere and that I was trying and that I would be transparent in my trying. And I think that just goes a long way. Just being, if you're having a hard time, if you're scared about something, if you know that you need to push somewhere, just be honest about it. Don't play games. I think that people see sincerity and they trust that. So I have tried desperately to be honest and sincere and and earnest in my attempts to make things, to move the needle.
Is that ever scary to be so transparent and honest with people?
Yeah, but I don't honestly know how to be any other way. I think I could like try to like play a game or like be mad at some, like I can't even stay mad at people. I know it's just not it. And honestly, like when I have felt affirmed by this community so many times and so often when I think about it, I have been affirmed so many times that I haven't ever been tempted to stray from that path because I am in the right place and it is the right time. And I feel very secure in that belief.
How long have you been feeling that security?
Yeah. Most certainly since I started at Ezekiel Project, which was the best job ever and the hardest job ever. And when things are so hard, it's an opportunity to grow, right? And so that was terrifying for me. I had grown in some ways, but I had to really step up. It was actually Veronica Horn who told me about that job. And I think now about I knew her from some community stuff but not well. And she was like, you need to apply here. And she probably knew at the time that like that would be the right step for me. But yeah, that's the time where I really felt the most change. Like I had finally found a thing that was right for me.
And that gratification where it's like, yes, I'm where I need to be. I'm sure there was a build up to that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, kind of jumping in. So like I went off to a training the first day that I was with the Ezekiel Project, and they sent me to Pennsylvania and didn't load me up with any information about what it was. And the Ezekiel Project is affiliated with a national organization called the Gamaliel Network, which is the same network that Obama organized for in Chicago. And they claim the word agitational, which means they really push people.
Okay.
And so I went to this training and got my butt kicked the whole time. And I was pushed really hard, like out of my comfort zone, and was so bewildered by the whole experience. It was really like trial by fire. But it was a great intro because that whole job was really hard, and it pushed me in all kinds of ways. So it's actually fitting.
This is really interesting. This is so interesting because you're telling me that you were pushed out of your comfort zone, but you felt like you were on top of the world at the time. And I think that's a really wild combination, along with that degree and what you're currently doing.
It's so weird.
But we are going to take a quick break and come back to speak with Jamie Forbes on That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
And we are back. We are back with Jamie Forbes, a
I'll use the expression of a mover and a shaker because she is literally moving along on the Stars bus here in Saginaw County. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I gotta throw those really cheesy jokes in there.
Honey.
Yes, I love those things. It makes life a little bit more fun. There's some things that are super super exciting about you. And there's always something different happening with Jamie. Like, she has these parameters that she works in these organizations in the community, but it's just always something exciting. Like, well, what's next? What's next with Jamie? What's Jamie going to do next? And a cool part of what Jamie does is, yes, she works with STARS and in our community and several entities. STARS is a bus transit system here in Saginaw County, but she also works for the Great Mural Project. So what is the Great Mural Project?
Yeah, so we are, it started off with some conversations in 2017, and now it's grown to, we have raised money and installed 43 murals across the Saginaw County, little utility boxes all the way up to great big 5-story buildings. And it is just, I'm not an artist. You should not have me painting anything, but I can write grants. I can check off to-do lists.
You can't paint.
No. I mean, I could paint inside lines that artists draw for me, but that's about all. And that's all I've done, thankfully.
That's
but
nice,
yeah, it's so basically the idea that we can't wait for developers, for saviors to come in and save this community and make it more beautiful. We can do incremental beautification ourselves. We have incredible, talented people in this community that their work deserves to be seen. And also, public art is something that people can enjoy without any money, right? They can drive by and check out a thing. And so we really believe that this is a low barrier of entry thing that makes our community richer.
How did you meet that artist that started this whole seed? Like,
yeah.
what?
So it's actually, it was Amora Brannigan, who is now with the YWCA. She brought up the idea to me, and I thought it sounded fun. So I got together a few other people that I thought would also be interested. So it was her. So she actually didn't continue with the group. We just stole her idea and ran with it.
Yeah.
Yep. No.
Thanks.
So it's Cassie Zimmerman from Now with the City. She's the development director there. It was Elena Wiesner, who's now married, so forgive me for not knowing the new name off the top of my head, and Dawn Morell, who owns Dawn of a New Day Coffee House downtown. And we started meeting, and we did our first mural in 2018, which is on the corner of Washington and Genesee. It says Downtown Saginaw, and it's super colorful and awesome. And then we've just done anywhere from one mural to a bunch of murals each year since then, raised money from all kinds of places. And honestly, people are so generous with this project. People say yes so often. There's the affirmation piece again. Just crazy stuff happens around this public art stuff. And we've been so so with so much generosity and partnership over the years, and it has contributed to some of the most happy, joyful days of my life.
So okay, so you've said so many buzzwords here for me that I'm just I'm shooting off ideas. You said, I talked to this artist and it sounded like a fun idea. And you said that so casually. It sounded so fun. Yeah, let's go do this thing. And we're here years later where you've essentially, with this team of, were they all women?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah,
Backtrack.
yeah.
That's awesome. This team of women who've, dare I say, created this, art mural empire.
Oh.
Literally, think about it. In Saginaw County.
We've built on so much that that others have done though too. I think that this is a magic thing about Saginaw though, is that people make space for others. And we are not the first people to do this. We won't be the last.
So you've essentially created this ripple effect, because as we're speaking now in this day, there's murals going up in Bay City. There's projects that are going all around the
Caro
region.
just did one. The showdown's coming up in September.
Yep.
There's so much of this going on. And it's really fun because our mantra has always been, we will give it all. if someone wants to know our process, if someone wants to steal our application form or our ownership agreements, if someone wants to know how much our murals cost per square foot, I'll give any of that to anybody.
And that goes back to that transparency that you were talking about.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If we have gotten this, it's not like this is, it's not like it's ours. It's simply, I mean, if someone else wants to put up a mural, that is the more the merrier, 100%.
So what's the importance of having public art other than, you, like you said, it's free.
Mhm.
It's free to for people to view and enjoy and beautification. But what is the importance to art for you and for the community?
Yeah, I think that we all deserve to interpret something like art in our own way. Like, so I've talked with Phil Ike before about the, most recently about the silos. So Shine Bright, these incredible, humongous murals that are down along the river. We like helped a little bit with those, but that is like a whole next level thing that we could never fathom. But
so for listeners that just heard,
yeah.
what are these silos?
Yeah.
What's going on? Can you tell us
Yeah.
when, where, and how about that?
So it was a private project. They raised near $1 million for these giant silo murals along the river. They are the project is Shine Bright, and it's just a huge lift. It is perhaps the second largest mural in the United States. It is colorful and amazing, but it's also been a little bit polarizing. I think mostly we've heard positive stuff about it, but like people look at art and they see different things, right? And like we as a community need to be cool with people liking some and not liking others. So this is also a practice of like some people drive past the mural that we did on La Estrella, and they're like, it's not my vibe. I'm not into it. It doesn't mean you have to be like, this mural sucks. It's simply about practicing that our eyes are drawn to different things, different colors, different themes, different styles. And this is also an area of diversity, that all art is good art. And we're going to like some more than others. And the point is to have enough public art that we all have stuff that we love.
Ooh, I love that. That last line was a real stinger. I think that creating 2D art in the city, public places, we need more of it. You don't, there's always going to be a wall. There's always going to be a wall to paint. And one great thing that I love about the Great Mural Project is that I say we.
No, we're all in this together, man. Go for it.
You're showcasing artists who are middle school students to professional artists from on the other side of the country. And sometimes, we're talking about a wide spectrum. So when we go back to Jamie, that center bubble here, who's Jamie Forbes? You said transparency, and you have, values of inclusion and all these wonderful things, but where did that come from for you?
Yeah. So my parents are the best humans in the whole world. I'd rather hang out with my parents than anyone ever, except maybe my husband. I love him too. But
he can be in the room.
Yeah. But my parents are like, for anyone who has met my parents, which they come to all my stuff, and so they know all my friends, and they are just supremely kind, generous, lovely human beings. I got to grow up in a home with love and acceptance and kindness to the max. And so I am just I have been so lucky to be surrounded by these two amazing humans. And so all of it comes from them. Like in terms of values, I mean, even my family, I have so many wonderful family members that give their time and efforts so generously.
What were a few things as a child that your parents kind of instilled in you that you're like, yep, I still do this today?
My dad was on our local village council. My mom was the president of a group that all of the churches in Reese were a part of that did food giveaways and community projects, which is funny because so I would say that Ezekiel was, so I was a faith-based community organizer. My mom was totally a faith-based community organizer. She did exactly the same stuff that I did. And I didn't even put it together when I was doing it, which is so weird. But my dad started the recycling program in my town. And yeah, I mean, my dad traveled across the world and taught and taught students how to install solar and water projects in Nigeria. Like they just did, they did the small things, and then and watching that, as a child, seeing how these are incremental things that were within their control to take action on, but they did make a difference, and it increased the quality of people's lives.
I think that your parents are awesome.
They're heroes.
They need like plaques.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good.
That is so.
And if you need any parents,
warm.
if anyone needs any parents, my mom is ready to be anyone's mom. So
you know what, I too, and again, I have to mention it. I know these conversations are all about the other person in the other chair, but
no, do it.
I love the fact when you are fortunate enough, and we have to recognize that we're fortunate that we have these parents in our lives. I've had women in this chair that say they didn't have parents, or they were raised by someone external in their family, and I have to kind of bring it in and say, my dad, I'm so serious, has a shirt that says free hugs. And he wears it just anywhere. And people come up to him and give him a hug. And it just goes back to, isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And we'll be like, where's dad, mom? Where's dad? And he's like, oh, back there hugging me. They're giving hugs back there. And she's like, come on, we're gonna, we gotta go this way. And I'm like, but dad, he got it. He's good. He's in his happy place. But
I also feel like there's this theme of like chosen family that like, you don't have to be blood related to people to care about others. My parents have housed a bunch of people in their lives. I mean, through high school, most of those years, we had someone living with us that was not a blood member of our family because they needed a safe, comfortable place. And that has very much permeated the way that I look at life. I mean, I have people that I call familial names to make it simpler to not have to explain why it is that
you're so close to
which I think is also, I mean, that's about loving people, not because you have to, not because you feel that there's social pressure to to be good to your family member. It's just about it being the right thing to do, and that was absolutely a part of my childhood and has been ever since in various ways.
So your parents were this epicenter of leadership for you. Can you explain what leadership you are? We talked about a little bit off air. So can you explain what kind of leadership roles you have in your current life? And maybe it doesn't even have to be professionally, because I know we were talking a little bit about having a mentor, and your family is mentors to you, your parents specifically. And what does that look like for you, kind of reflecting that out?
Yeah. So I've had recently had a lot more reason to think about this, because one of the leaders that I have very much looked to and tried to to repeat is a friend named Louis Rocha. He was one of my political friends, and he actually lives a couple houses down from me. He passed away about a week and a half ago. And Louis was involved in the Democratic Club where I was the president. And he was one of those dudes that gave me opportunities I didn't deserve and supported me so sincerely. And I feel like he really exemplified the kind of leader I wanted to be, and that I hope I have lived up to some degree. Basically, like, by asking people questions and caring what they think, looking them in the eye and truly caring about what they have to say. And I think that is such a, oh yeah, of course, you ask questions and you listen. No, but people don't get listened to. And people are so thirsty for someone to care about what they have to say. And so I think that when you're really intentional about that it develops a sincere loyalty and care for, the people involved that ends up paying off in so many multitudes of ways. And so I think I want to earn people's trust and loyalty by working hard, by listening to them, by really being intentional about learning what drives them and where their self-interest is that's going to impact them.
I too know Louis Rocha, and
oh, he's so
yes, he was a gem
such a humble, hardworking. He never did stuff for attention. And that's how I want to. And that's why this kind of stuff makes me uncomfortable, because I don't want to be the one up front. And that's how organizing is too. Lewis worked so hard, but never because people gave him esteem. It's because it was the right thing to do.
And so when we look at you having him as a mentor and a leader of example, what is it that we can do as women to create that for the next person?
Yeah, I think that I've been the recipient of a lot of generosity and chances and like investment. And I think that there's this whole group of leaders in Saginaw, and I think this is really special to our community. There's this whole group of leaders that went through really, really hard stuff, like absolute demo of our community. We lost so much money. We lost so many people. We lost so many jobs. Absolute implosion of our economic lives. And through that, all these leaders that, came before us went through all this tough stuff, and they realized that the only way that they can succeed is if they work on things together and if they get over their own silos. And I think that I have been the recipient of that vibe, right? That when you come to town and you want to work on stuff, we're so desperate for things to happen. Like, things are so tough. We got so much work to do that you just come up here and you put your shoulder on the wheel and you help us out. Please, what can I do to keep you here so that you continue to take this load off my shoulder, because we're all working so hard. I think that with that comes space. Like, there's so much ability to actually make change happen in this community. And that feels so satisfying to see that the work that you're doing is having an impact. And so I think that what we can do as now, I'm 40, so I suppose I'm in my head, I'm like 22, so this is weird, but like now
22 and still going to concerts,
right, yeah,
and, passing out the flyers, getting
exactly.
that degree. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're still 22. It's fine.
Yeah. Thank you. So like now that I suppose I'm the leadership age, I think now it's our duty to give people that same space and to make even more. That now,
how do you meet people? Like, let's say we have a listener who is 22, 23, 24, 25, and they're like, this girl Jamie is killing it. I need to be like Jamie. How can she be my Lewis Rocha? How does that connection get made?
Yeah. So I think that the biggest takeaway for me from organizing is that being intentional about relationship building is so, so important. And so
how do you do that?
I think that means that you see a person somewhere, or you on social media or in the news or anywhere, and you find a way to reach out to them and you say, hey, I really think that what you're doing is cool. I would love to talk to you more about it. And literally that person will say yes. Any local elected official, any nonprofit leader, I have never been turned down. And if you sincerely go into a conversation and want to hear about people and you want to hear about what drives them, I truly believe that the people in this community are so generous, and they will tell you their story, because they all have incredible stories. I can't tell you, every time I sit down for a one-on-one and I learn about somebody, I am always like, every single time the thought crosses my mind, how do I get to sit here with this person and hear this story? And if I hadn't bothered to ask, I wouldn't know. Truly, people are so amazing. And so sit down with them and ask them questions about how they got where they are, and you ask for their advice about your situation, and they will give you connections. They will give you little tidbits that were helpful to them. They will support you in that work. I truly believe that. And I know it seems like so silly, like ask people for coffee, but I swear it makes a difference. And if you really hatch a relationship with someone, it's going to be something that's going to pay off in the future.
And for a young listener, and I'm saying she because we're talking about women empowerment here, and she is thinking, I want to take these steps. What type of motivation is that for her? When I ask someone to coffee, and I'm a little hesitant sometimes. You know?
You?
Yeah,
I don't
know.
believe that.
I am. I'm like, they're so busy. You know, like
Yeah.
they're so busy. Why would they take an hour?
They'll do it though. They will. I swear they will. I haven't had anyone. I did have someone. I started asking them questions, and they were like, "What are you asking me these questions for?" And it ended badly. But every single other person, will, because people truly want to share their story, and investing in people in that way feels so good to be invested, even if it's just some random person.
So we're sitting down here with Jamie Forbes. We only have a few more minutes of the show left, but I have to ask, with all these successes in the community and your career and sharing advice to other people, what was a challenge, just one challenge that you came across that held you back a little?
I think that I am a people pleaser to the absolute max. I think as a woman, I've been programmed to try my best to keep the peace, and that I've had to really check that in my path, because
How do you check that?
I have strong, mouthy women that push me to do the right thing, even if it means taking somebody off.
Mouthy in a good way, then.
Oh yes, mouthy in a
Okay,
good way. No,
okay.
I use mouthy as a positive.
Okay, all right.
No, like, and then, like, just like, I think as we get older, we become more aware of our natural tendencies, and like just pondering that's always a challenge for me. That I am a white woman, middle class, that there are things that come with who I am that I have to check. That I have a lens that I look through that is not what other people see, and that I have to have relationships with people that are different from me to keep my privilege in the place. I mean, I'm never going to have it all together ever, but I can at least grow and try and be aware of my own inherent limitations. But yeah, this is about us learning about ourselves, being honest about it, telling our co-conspirators. That's something we use in organizing. Like, we have teammates, right? I have so many awesome teammates, and I'm aware of all of their quirks, just as they're aware of mine. And we need to work to leverage the best out of each other. And sometimes that means that we pick a different messenger. Sometimes that means that we pick a different strategy and check in with our teammates. But there are so many people that all want to make this community better that we can lean on. This is not a one-man show or one-woman show.
One woman show. I like that. Yeah. Thanks. So, as a people pleaser, what can we do to reverse that that mindset? You said you have some, mouthy in a good way, women in your corner. How do I find that?
I think that means being intentional about relationship building and finding those folks. I think that because our circles are so small, especially with social media and things, that we have less a community naturally, that we have to go out and work a little harder to find that community. Back in the day, we had, the church you go to or the school you go to. Things are not that way anymore as much. And so I think if we believe what we see on social media, there's not a lot of hope.
So if you could give one piece of advice to a woman out there listening today, or man, what would that be?
I would say reach out to the people you think are doing cool work and ask them for coffee and invest in them. Ask them about how they ended up on the path that they are and how you can start down that same path. And they will deliver for you, and they will invest in you, and we can build ourselves a community in that way.
Thank you, Jamie.
I
appreciate that.
I appreciate this so much.
And that was an awesome piece of advice from Jamie Forbes, because that's what she said.